much, ladies and gentlemen. It really is great to be here. I find that as entrepreneurs, we often need to be in this country of ours because we're the people that will find solutions to the problems facing the other people. So when I travel around the countryside and I hear entrepreneurs complaining about things like, the European economy and the Chinese economy and USA and America and all these people are affecting me, big business is affecting me, I think to myself, well, guys, shouldn't we be concentrating on things over which we have some degree of control? I have no control over the economy in China, but I do have control over my own economy. I know what I can do in my business will improve my business. So when Nedbank asked us, Bill and I, to share with you some ideas as to cash flow planning and sales, the mandate was, please give the delegates some ideas that you can use in your business today. So when you walk out today, you can actually implement those ideas. So unfortunately for those of you expecting an academic exercise, today we aren't going to be talking academic, we're going to be talking practical. And as Terry quite correctly said, it is maybe things we're going to remind you of. I used to do that. Or maybe it's things that you used to implement and forgotten about it. So make notes, ladies and gentlemen. If there's anything that you think can be of use to you, please make notes. Now, I'm also very certain that if I asked most of you, you're going to agree that it is not the right thing to do to keep on treating the symptoms of a problem. Ideally, you would be treating the cause of the problem. And traveling around and chatting to entrepreneurs, I often find they say, I need some more money. I need some more cash. I need more cash flow. I need working capital. And then when you sit down with them, you find out, wait a bit, is that really the symptom that we're talking about, or should we be looking at the cause? Now, I believe there are 5 causes of cash flow challenges in small businesses today. And the first one is, ladies and gentlemen, there is no sales. You are not selling enough. So, and typically what would happen in a startup and in your first 2 or 3 years is you'd get a job and you'd focus on that work and you'd be doing the work and doing the work and doing the work, and then you finish the work and then there's no more work. Then you shop around and look around and you find a job. And then you do the work and you do the work and you finish the work. And then there's no more work. So all those little gaps are creating cash flow challenges for you. So maybe it's not about the cash flow. Maybe it's about sales. And we need to learn, I believe, that as business owners, we can't afford to have these gaps. So when you're doing, it must be like a pipeline. So when you've got work and you see the work is about to fall out the end of the pipe, you should be looking for more work. And that, very often, ladies and gentlemen, is where the cash flow challenges arise. We need to sell more. Now, Bill is the sales and marketing person. I'm not the sales and marketing person. He'll help you on that side. Now, going together with too little sales, of course, there is the instance where you have too many sales. On one of the shows on It's My Biz, I wrote designs. The guy in Port Elizabeth, also EC, he had a great product, and he was creating stainless steel piping and forms. And what would happen is he had this fantastic client that gave him all this work. And eventually he had to say, whoa, stop, I can't take any more work. Now I know some of us would love that situation. But think about the cash flow challenge he had. He would buy the stainless steel today. End of the week he'd have to pay his staff. The following week he would deliver the product and then get paid 3 months later. So he didn't have the money to keep on paying the staff and the material. So we said to him, why don't you do things like get terms from your suppliers? Maybe you want to take deposits from your clients. And Terry mentioned discounting of invoices. Go to the bank with your invoice and say, listen, these guys owe me 100,000 Rand. They're pretty credit worthy, but I'm only going to get it in 90 days, and maybe the bank will advance you some income. So the first problem I find from a cash flow challenge perspective is it's a sales problem. It's not really a financial management problem. And just by the way, I don't believe we need to be accountants. Are there any accountants in the room? Sorry, sir. We don't need to be accountants to manage our cash flow. But what we do need to know is some certain principles which we're going to share with you this morning. So number one is get your sales in order. Number two is get your pricing in order. Because you may be getting the sales, but because you haven't priced yourself correctly or your product or your service correctly, you're selling and not making money. You're not making gross profit. The third area that I find is very interesting is we get to the point, and I know it's because we love what we do. We get to the point where we find the sales, we actually produce the work, then we forget to send the invoice out in time. Or we don't send the invoice out in time. And 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, we send the invoice. So that is another challenge that we have as business owners. We need to actually invoice on time. Then the fourth aspect that I find is very interesting from a cash flow planning perspective and a challenge perspective is you say to me, Thayn, you know what? My sales are okay. My pricing is okay. In fact, I'm even sending my invoices out on time. And then when you get the money, the fourth problem, the fourth issue is you use the cash in your business inefficiently. In other words, we don't do the right things with the cash that's available to us. And then very lastly, but by no means least, is the fifth area where I find we create cash flow challenges and cause cash flow challenges for ourselves is when we compete with our business for its cash flow. So you may have a fantastic business, ladies and gentlemen, but it is so nice to drive that car with a star on the front. I live in East London, so I know the Mercedes-Benz is a wonderful status symbol. But we forget that that star on the front might be creating a cash flow challenge in your business because your personal level of cash flow is too high for the business to maintain. So I honestly think that sometimes we need to divorce or formalize our business to such an extent that we know what our personal cash flow requirements are. And then, of course, in 2007 or 8, we had a wonderful time in this country. They're the builders. Any builders this morning? Now, let me tell you, in those times, we could not find a builder to build for us. You were so busy. You could not get a builder for the love of money. And when you did get one, what happened was, he was very expensive. And now? A lot of the builders have gone out of business. A lot of the estate agents have gone out of business. Why? Ladies and gentlemen, it's because we do not keep money aside in good times for the bad times. We need to keep money aside for the bad times when we are having a good financial season. Now, I like to say to my clients, what you need to do is to build up about 3 months of cash flow. So have that parked in your bond or your money market account or somewhere so that if you had no sales, ladies and gentlemen, for 3 months, your business still would survive. So those are the 5 areas I feel that cash flow challenges are facing us entrepreneurs, and we need to address those issues. It's not always about throwing money at the problems. Today I'm going to share some ideas with you that hopefully will identify and help you with that cause rather than the symptom. So I see guys that say to me, Thayn, you know what? 10 million rand turnover. I did 10 million rand turnover. I said, but what's your profit? There's no point in focusing, sorry Bill, only on sales. You need to focus on the profit, ladies and gentlemen. Because the more gross profit you have, the more money you're going to have to pay your expenses on a monthly basis. So turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash flow is reality. You need to focus, I believe, on cash flow. Profit is a calculation. Cash flow is real, runny money. So this morning we're going to talk about the runny money. It's the money you can touch and feel. It's the money that you can use to buy our books and stationery. It's the money that you can use to pay rent, water and lights. That's the money that I want to talk about this morning. Now, Terry quite correctly said that cash flow is very important for a banker. Now, I know as business owner, myself, a small business owner for the last 20 years, how difficult it is to get funding. It is exceptionally difficult. That's the price we pay. As business owners, we know if we're going to look for funding, we're going to have to provide personal assets and liabilities, personal income statement, bank statements for 6 months, business assets and liabilities, business financial statements, business bank statements for 6 months. I see now we're even being asked for our tax returns. So why do they ask us for these things? What's your name, man? Bev? Bev has got 100,000 rand in her pocket. Let's play. Okay. Now I'm going to say Bev doesn't know me from a bar of soap. So I want you to help Bev with some questions that she needs to ask me. Bev, I want to borrow that 100,000. Here's the catch. The 100,000 does not belong to her. It belongs to her mother, and she's looking after it for her mom. So help me. What kind of questions should Bev be asking me as a potential lender? Security, the first thing she said. How am I going to pay it back? What am I going to do with it? When am I going to pay it back? Okay, so what interest rate? Now, all of these things are so important because the law requires of somebody that's looking after assets of another person to have a higher degree of care than if it was their own money or their own assets. Because it is not their money, actually. It belongs to their shareholders and it belongs to other clients, depositors. So I understand why we have this issue. Doesn't mean I like it, but when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So we have to keep our finances in place. Now, you say, but Thayn, what's the risk? I want to borrow 100,000 rand. I've got a farm that's worth 10 million rand. What's the risk? Hey, the banks don't want to be farmers. Okay. So they don't want your farm. They want your money. So they're going to ask you for a cash flow statement that's going to prove to them that you can actually service the loan, that there is repayment ability. Now, often we might think, oh, well, I wonder if there's something wrong with my credit that I can't get funding. Creditexpert.co.za is a website you can use for free to check your credit record. Creditexpert.co.za. Check your credit record. As a business owner, if you have credit facilities, see, I'm standing out of harm's way here, please do not reduce those facilities because you're going to need them in your business one day. And I know it costs us money and it costs us angst, and we have to complete an annual return and provide documentation. But there will come a time, ladies and gentlemen, where you're going to need that money. So from a private perspective, I'm quite comfortable, in my opinion, to say reduce it. From a business perspective, sorry bankers, I like to keep it at its current rate.